Steel Pulse are a roots reggae musical band, from the Handsworth area of Birmingham, England, which has a large number of Afro-Caribbean, Indian and other Asian migrants. They originally formed at Handsworth Wood Boys School, composed of David Hinds, Basil Gabbidon, and Ronald McQueen, along with Basil's brother Colin briefly on drums. Steel Pulse were the first non-Jamaican act to win the Grammy Award for Best Reggae Album. History: after the band formed in 1975, their debut release, Kaibudu, Mansetta and Debuku, arrived on the small independent label Dip, and linked the plight of urban black youth with the image of a greater African homeland. They followed it with Nyolu for Anchor. They were initially refused live dates in Caribbean venues in Birmingham due to their Rastafarian beliefs. Aligning themselves closely with the Rock Against Racism organization and featuring in its first music festival in early 1978, they chose to tour with sympathetic elements of the punk movement, including the Stranglers, XTC etc. Punks had a way of enjoying themselves, throw hordes at you, beer, spit at you, that kind of thing. Eventually they found a more natural home in support slots for Burning Spear, which brought them to the attention of Island Records. Their first release for Island was the Ku Klux Klan 45, a considered tilt to the evils of racism, and one often accompanied by a visual parody of the sect on stage. By this time their ranks had swelled to include Selwyn Brown, Steve Grizzly Nisbet, Alphonso Martin and Mikael Riley. Handsworth Revolution was an accomplished long-playing record and one of the major landmarks in the evolution of British reggae. However, despite critical and moderate commercial success over 3 albums, the relationship with Island Records had soured by the advent of their third album, Caught You. The band made their U.S. concert debut at the Mud Club in New York in 1980. Tom Terrell, who would later serve as their manager, was instrumental in masterminding a Steel Pulse concert on the night of Bob Marley's funeral, which was broadcast live around the world from the 930 Club, 930 F Street, NW, Washington, D.C., on May 21, 1981. They switched to Elektra Records, and unveiled their most consistent collection of songs since Handsworth Revolution with True Democracy, distinguished by the Garvey eulogizing Rally Round cut. A further definitive set arrived in Earth Crisis. However, Elektra chose to take a leaf out of Island's book in trying to coerce Steel Pulse into a more mainstream vein, asking them to emulate the pop reggae stance of Eddie Grant. Babylon the Bandit was consequently weakened, but did contain the anthemic Not King James version, which was a powerful indictment on the omission of black people and history from certain versions of the Bible. Their next move was of Hinds of Steel Pulse to MCA for State of Emergency, which retained some of the synthesized dance elements of its predecessor. Though it was a significantly happier compromise, it still paled before any of their earlier albums. Centennial was recorded live at the Élysée Montmartre in Paris, over 3 nights, and dedicated to the 100-year anniversary of the birth of Haile Selassie. It was the first recording since the defection of Alphonso Martin, leaving the trio of Hinds, Nisbet and Selwyn. While they still faced criticism at the hands of British reggae fans, in the United States their reputation was growing, becoming the first ever reggae band to appear on The Tonight television show. Their profile was raised further when, in 1992, Hinds challenged the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission in the Supreme Court, asserting that their cab drivers discriminated against black people in general and Rastafarians in particular. The lawsuit was later dropped by Steel Pulse. A Grammy Award was awarded for their 1986 album Babylon the Bandit. Steel Pulse has received nominations for Victims and Rastafari Centennial. In 1989, the group contributed I Can't Stand It to the soundtrack of Spike Lee's film Do the Right Thing. In 1994, the group headlined some of the world's biggest reggae festivals including Reggae Sunsplash USA, Jamaican Sunsplash, Japan's Splash and Northern California annual Reggae on the River Festival. In 1986, Steel Pulse contributed an ethereal version of Franklin's Tower on Pow Wow Records' Fire on the Mountain, Reggae Celebrates the Grateful Dead compilation. They covered the Police's Can't Stand Losing You for a reggae compilation of Police tunes that appeared on the Arc 21 label. The band is particularly proud of Rasta Anthology, a 17-song collection of Steel Pulse classics. In 1997 the band released Rage and Fury, with some of their most potent lyrics to date. A striking example of protest, The Real Terrorist challenges the CIA's clandestine policy of political disruption over the years, while Black and Proud celebrates Pan-Africanism. We're not here to start a physical revolution, we're just here to open everybody's eyes and let them check themselves and continue in a very educational mode to change things on that tip, Hinds explains. We're losing ourselves and I think it's very important for us to realize that. Too many of our youths have been lost to drugs, or by the gun, or not having the education needed to persevere and move in an upward direction. I think Rage and Fury will contribute to their enlightenment. Until February 2001, it had been many years since Pulse had performed in their hometown of Birmingham. They decided to perform at the Ray Watts Memorial Concert, which was held at the Irish Centre. Pulse shared the stage with Watts' band, Bashara, along with other artists from Birmingham. In 2004, Steel Pulse returned to their militant roots with African Holocaust, their 11th studio album. With guest appearances by Damian Marley, Capleton, and Tycoon Jah Fakoly, the album is a collection of protest and spiritual songs, including Global Warning, Tyrant, a protest song against political corruption, and No More Weapons, a classic anti-war song. Also featured on the album is the Bob Dylan classic George Jackson. In a 2013 interview with Midnight Raver, David Hinds indicated that a new studio album and documentary, tentatively titled Steel Pulse, The Definitive Story, would be released in 2014. However, on July 10, 2014 Midnight Raver reported that, according to Hinds, both the studio album and documentary will be delayed until at least 2015. In anticipation to a new Steel Pulse album, the Roots Reggae Library has indexed 2 compilation albums of the latest Steel Pulse singles. The albums are called Positivity and Jahweh, both after track names on the albums. Personnel. Discography. Studio albums Handsworth Revolution, Tribute to the Martyrs, Court U, True Democracy, Earth Crisis, Babylon the Bandit, Grammy Award winner, Best Reggae Album, State of Emergency, Victims, Vex, Rage and Fury, African Holocaust. Live albums Rastafari Centennial, Live in Paris, Living Legacy. Compilation albums Short Circuit, Live at the Electric Circus, Hope and Anchor Front Row Festival, UC. A Music War, Reggae Greats, Smash Hits, Rust Anthology, Sound System, The Island Anthology, Ultimate Collection, 20th Century Masters, The Millennium Collection, The Best of Steel Pulse, Rust Anthology 2, The Sequel. Singles Kai Budu Manzata e Buku, Nyoluv, Ku Klux Klan, Prodigal Son, Prediction, Sound System, Reggae Fever, Don't Give In, Ravers, Your House, Reaching Out, Save Black Music, Taxi Driver, Bootstraps, Brown Eyed Girl, Global Warning, No More Weapons, Door of No Return, Put Your Hoodies On, For Traven. Filmography Live from the Archives, Introspective. References. External links, Steel Pulse official website.